show the establishment warned you about.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Dr. Tommy Show. Welcome back. We're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. There's so many new viewers on Rumble that we appreciate it. And thank you for sharing it with your friends. And if you want to also subscribe, that helps us a lot too. We have a lot of new viewers on Rumble. So if you're watching on Rumble, thanks a lot. We used to do it on YouTube, but YouTube is a censorship platform, so now we're doing it on Rumble. And I'm Dr. Tommy. I'm here with Tracy.
Good morning.
And we are going to talk a lot about some of the stuff that's going on in the schools locally, and it's a pretty alarming. And we're also going to do some stuff on the elections coming up, and also talk about some of the concerts that are coming up. And if you want to learn more about the Dr. Tommy Show, go to drtommy.com/podcast, and you can see all the different avenues for listening and also watching. So Tracy found this yesterday. It's pretty scary stuff.
Oh yeah, sex ed.
And this is here locally.
Yes, Hillsborough County for 7th grade. Yes, they're going to be you can go ahead and read it if you want, but yeah, basically they're going to be talking about sex ed, which they do. They've always done it. I remember having sex ed when I was in school, in 5th or 6th grade. They do it now in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. So the curriculum is definitely different than what I experienced.
They did it in 5th and 6th grade when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And now this is in 7th grade, so they pushed it back some.
They did, which is interesting. I don't know why. Okay. And I don't know if it's like that in every school, but it might have something to do with the fact that Kaylee is at a K through 8 school.
Yeah. It might also have something to do with the stuff they're going to be talking about.
Right.
It says, this is from the Florida Standard, which is, you said Will Witz?
Will, yes. I'm going to email him or text him or email him and see if he would want to come do a podcast with you.
Is he here in Tampa?
Yeah, he just moved from California.
To Tampa?
To Tampa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
and
awesome. I've
been following him for a long time. He's a young guy, and I just always like what he has to say.
Okay, cool. So it says, this is from the Florida Standard. It says, 1,000-sign petition challenging Tampa School District's sex ed curriculum. And so if you read that, what is the first thing you're going to think of if you see that? Not from the Florida Standard, but from a regular newspaper.
I'm sorry, I was checking a patient's message.
It says 1,000-sign petition challenging Tampa School District.
Oh, gotcha, yes.
And if you saw that in the headline of the Tampa Bay Times, what would be your immediate reaction?
Well, first of all, I haven't even seen the petition, but then I'd be saying, what's going on? What are they going to be teaching the kids? Why is people signing this petition?
And I think the other reaction that the people would have, because they haven't heard what's in this, is they would say, oh, what's the big deal? These fuddy-duddies. They don't want kids to learn about sex. It's everywhere now, and the kids need to learn about it. But the stuff that's in here is pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy. Role playing?
Yes. It says here, the curriculum includes direct links to progressive organizations, Teen Challenge Tampa Bay, and Amaze, which is some type of online program. It says, among the complaints, parents feel that many of the topics presented to 12-year-olds are prematurely if they should ever be. Lessons for 7th graders feature detailed drawings of male and female anatomy and an optional card game in which kids match the sex organ with its function. Mm-hmm. Elsewhere, students are introduced to different types of sex, including oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex, and intercourse. Instructors show teachers how HCPS, Hillsborough County Public Schools, instructs teachers to show students the Amaze video on birth control, which informs them that they can go to a family planning clinic such as Planned Parenthood for access to birth control for preventing unwanted pregnancy. The video immediately follows up a brief mention of abstinence by employing pathos over logos stating, remember, it's all about what feels right for you. So they have to mention this abstinence just in passing. But they say it's what feels right to you. And then it says, one of the videos is titled Anatomy, Assigned Sex at Birth, which features cartoon sketches of naked teens while underscoring the importance of distinguishing sex and gender. So they're introducing not just sex education, not just how to protect yourself against getting illness, but they're introducing social engineering into this. Mm-hmm. And this is beyond sex education.
This isn't what I learned about when I was in 5th or 6th grade. Here is maxi pads. I think boys were probably given condoms and shown how to put them on. We talked about reproductive from a book, and that was it. There's no opinion from the teacher. It was strictly from the book, and pictures of the uterus. We didn't talk about, there was a boy and it was a boy and a girl. That's it. Mm-hmm. And, but now, I knew that Kaylee was going to have sex ed because when school first started, it was mentioned in the paperwork that she would be having sex ed this year. And so when she does have sex ed, which is after the Christmas holiday, the form's going to come home with us and we can opt our child out. And I didn't, at the time, I was thinking, I don't know, we have a great governor, so I can't imagine that they're going to be doing this in Florida.
I was surprised when you told me.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
It's Hillsborough County, though. So the counties do whatever they want to do for the most part.
Right. So, anyway, I was just thinking, yeah, probably, let her do it. But I've already bought her books. I put on myself, to buy her books so she can read and learn about it and then ask me questions. And so now that I've seen this, I'm just going to opt her out. And I've already explained to her I'm going to opt her out. So she will not participate in this. So you have the option to opt your child out, and they'll go send them somewhere else during this lesson.
It says, in addition to the videos, Kemple argues the curriculum itself also introduces and normalizes gender confusion for impressionable 12-year-olds. Teachers are instructed to draw a clear distinction between biological sex and gender by giving students the disclaimer that, quote, not all students' gender identities will match their sexual anatomy. A suggested script for the teacher reads, you will notice that this lesson refers to male and female anatomy. We will use these terms for clarity's sake to refer to biological sex or the sex person was assigned at birth.
And see, I don't know what schools...
So this is not about sex education. This is about gender indoctrination.
Right. This is grooming, as they call it.
Gender theory indoctrination.
And I don't know if Kaylee's school will be participating.
They must. This is Hillsborough County.
It is, but I don't know. I want to think that they are not going to be doing it, but either way, I'm going to still opt out. I don't even know. I met her teachers, like I told her when I discussed this with her. She's at a closed campus. Her campus, this is going on the third year. Parents are not allowed on campus for fear of, I don't know. I don't know if it's COVID, or I don't know if it's afraid of a gunman coming on campus. It just says for the safety of the children, it's a closed campus. This is the third year. So at open house, I've literally met her teachers for 2 minutes. I don't know their personalities. I don't know how they feel about things. In the past, I would have an opportunity to speak to the teacher or get to know them. But because she's at a closed campus, I'm only relying on what I can read. Yeah,
and it's closed campus, like you say. And part of it probably is because of the fear of COVID still.
Well, the principal still wears a mask.
I think COVID,
outside, all by himself, directing traffic.
COVID introduced the idea that this is okay to kind of, because of whatever, it's okay to break the norms of communication and break the norms of societal interaction. And it's going to be okay to do this indefinitely, really. So in a normal scenario, you would be able to access your child's school and you'd be involved. But like you said, this is putting this artificial constraint in there. Right.
When thank goodness, Olivia's at a school that is not closed campus, right, and they're having a fall festival, and I did breakfast, coffee and donuts one morning. Kaylee's coffee and donuts, they're still having it, but it's virtual. So, you get your own donut, your own cup of coffee. And I just think it's silly, and I'm not participating in that. Mm-hmm. But Olivia's, we can go to, I got to go to the cat library and sit down with other parents, and there was discussion, and it was really great.
Listen to this. Teen Challenge Tampa Bay. The 7th grade curriculum also includes an assignment for teens called, quote, Teen Connect Scavenger Hunt Worksheet. Sounds very...
innocent.
Yeah. So directions instructs teens to, quote, search the Teen Connect website, Teen Connect Tampa Bay website, to learn about sexuality and gender identity. Teen Connect website provides easy access to direct links for other progressive organizations, including Planned Parenthood and over a dozen national, state, and local LGBTQ advocacy groups. So here we are. This is not about sex education here. This is about teaching children about basically things that are for adults.
Right. Did you say anything about reproductive? Right. Yeah. I mean, is there much in there about like what a uterus is and fallopian tubes, and girls going to be starting their periods?
And and what's the difference between a bacteria and a virus, and is a virus curable? Right. That's what's important for the kids to know. Not about whether or not you feel like you're... That's something...
Johnny, I know you have a penis, but you don't have to be a boy.
That's something for the parents to deal with, I think.
Absolutely. That's what the patient and I were talking about this morning. What we teach our child our children in the home. It's our business.
Right.
And so what I would not be calling up the neighbor and saying, you should be teaching your child what I'm teaching my child.
Well, they don't believe that, though. They believe that they own the child. The child is theirs. Do you remember this guy? He was arrested for grooming children, actually. But he went to one of these groups. Okay, this was back during COVID, when COVID was happening, pandemic, all the usual hysteria that was going on. And so parents were going to these school meetings, and this guy was speaking up as an employee of the school.
Oh, yes.
And he was saying, we're going to get to your kids, basically, whether you like it or not. We're going to be able to get to them. Yes. And they're our kids.
Yes.
And then he got arrested for trying to
pornography, right?
I think he was trying to have sex with children.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever the case is, but that's what they believe. They believe that these are our kids. You as a parent, your rights are subservient to what their rights are. Right. They are the ones that are supposed to raise the children. Right.
Yeah, I don't know these people, and I'm not going to. Oh, well, when Kaylee first started school, I did have a new form come home this year that asked, I'd never seen this before ever. And, I have a 22-year-old, so on all the years I've never seen this form. But there was 3 questions, and one of the questions was, can the school nurse talk to my child about health issues? What kind of health issues? You have to be specific.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
Abortion.
Yes. Why would you want to talk to my daughter about health issues? And then, of course, the usual form that I get is, can we give Advil or Tylenol if your child's sick? I've always said no. You have to consult me first. I don't want you putting anything in my child's mouth without my consent. But I also said no. You cannot speak to my child about health-related issues unless I know about it.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. And then, so when Kaylee turned the form in, her PE coach seen it and was like, this was marked no. So there's some things that the nurse is not gonna be able to talk to you about, So then Kaylee comes home and tells me, oh, the PE coach says, I'm going to miss out basically on some information from the nurse because you marked no. I'm like, yeah, I marked no on purpose and I meant it. Mm-hmm. I don't want the nurse talking to you about things unless it's discussed with me first. I've never met the nurse.
Right.
I don't know who she is.
Right.
I'm a nurse and I said, your stepfather is a physician. So any questions you have, come to us.
Yeah. I
don't want you to go to your school nurse. And she very well could be a wonderful woman, but again, I don't know her.
It's just a kind of surreptitious way they slip it in there, though, It's like under the guise of just health, they're going to just say, well, we can talk to your child about health and give us this permission to.
Right. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Give me some specifics. What do you want to talk
these are
to
the
my
things
child
we can
about?
talk about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Illnesses.
But I thought it was a little crazy that then her PE coach comes to Kaylee and, your mom didn't mark the right thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing is these kids are, let's say they have this thing, okay? They have this, whatever this is, this curriculum. And then they start having a discussion. Those children that they're going to be forced or not forced, but made to feel left out if they don't agree with whatever the person leading the discussion is saying because of the peer pressure.
Right.
So they're going to say, who in here has heard of transgenderism? They all raise their hands. Mm. Who in here is against transgenderism? Mm. Well, nobody's going to raise their hand.
Right.
Who in here believes that it's wrong for people to be denied their whatever their gender identity is? Who believes that gender is assigned at birth? And who believes that doctors are wrong to do that? And and then these kids are going to be, and that's the way you start brainwashing them.
Right, and that's absolutely true. Though for this age, for middle school age. Their kids are vulnerable and, they are unsure of themselves and they're hormonal. And, so if they see the 15 kids in the classroom are raising their hand, maybe it's like, okay, maybe I should raise my hand too.
Yeah.
And a good example, and this is not about reproductive, but yesterday Kaylee told me that her little girlfriend at school, they were talking a little bit about politics. And her friend, they were talking about who they voted for, mm-hmm. or their parents voted for. And Kaylee says, this little girl said that her parents voted for President Biden. And Kaylee said, why? And then she said, well, Trump is racist. And then I said, did you tell her who your parents voted for? And she said, no.
Yeah. They have to, yeah.
I'm like, why not? It's okay if she can say who she voted for and you didn't get angry. You should be able to do the same. that's how communication is. That's how discussions work. You can talk back and forth with each other without getting angry. Fine, if she thinks President Trump is racist, so be it. We don't think he's racist. And it's okay to express that.
Well, the way the kids are now, impressionable, young, like you said, hormonal, they're saying now there's what was it, the increase? I can't remember the percent, but such a huge increase in the number of kids that are identifying as transgender now. Right.
They're not really trans. They're just like, they haven't had any sex changes, or they're just saying, I'm identifying. Yes. And I know that is true too, because my very close friend told me they're at her children's school, which is a private school. A lot of the girls are claiming that, and also saying they're all lesbian.
Right. So you're taking these kids now who are young, hormonal. A lot of them already feel awkward. They're not fitting in. And then you give them this group which has to have universal acclaim. And you say, okay, now transgenders, or people who are transgender or LGBTQ, whatever you want to call it, now these people are going to be automatically have a virtue given upon them. And so more kids are automatically going to gravitate towards that. Which you say, well, that's innocent enough, whatever. Okay, well, then you start moving on to the next step. So what do they do here? They go to they go to these things. So these kids that already feel a little awkward, maybe they say, you know what, maybe I am a different sex, or maybe I am, I'm a lesbian, or I'm gay, or whatever the case is, or I'm asexual. And then they start putting them in this thing, and then they say, well, now we go to the next step. Now that you've identified as this, we need to start talking about how to start transitioning you, how to get a gender affirming care. And we don't need to let your parents know that. So this is the foot in the door here. These types of, it's all it is sex ed. Sex ed is as old as far as I remember, school has been.
Right.
I mean, maybe in the 50s they didn't have sex ed, I don't know. But as long as we've been around, sex ed's been around. So they slipped this in under the guise of sex ed, saying, well, this is just sex ed. But it's not just sex ed. This is about trying to mold the minds of children into a more left-wing progressive ideology about, in this case, gender.
I would love to know what the superintendent has to say, because right now he will not.
I bet you I know what he has to say.
He will not reply.
He'll have to wait, and then he might change his mind later. But he'll say whatever's politically expedient.
Wishy-washy for sure.
He is. Listen to this. This is more from this article. This is for this other group that's is used now by Hillsborough County as an official partner. Amaze.org. It says, beyond what is explicitly included in curriculum, parents are concerned with the chosen third-party resources and the possibility they serve as a gateway for students. Hillsborough County Public Schools utilizes videos from amaze.org and lists the entire website under, quote, additional teacher resources. Amaze's YouTube channel has an array of videos covering progressive talking points on gender and sexuality. Video titles include How the Boner Grows, Puberty and Transgender Youth, How many times can a person masturbate in one day? Does penis size really matter? And females and masturbation. In a video about porn, the narrator states that looking at pictures or films of naked bodies or people and sexual behaviors is perfectly normal. How is this not grooming? This is from the Hillsborough County Public Schools official website, referring people to this amaze.org.
Yeah.
How is this not grooming?
It's really unbelievable. Do you remember though what her
business
patient
do they
told us
have
about her
talking to
child?
about children about sex?
She was in a group message. Her daughter was in a group message, and she read her daughter's message because
Oh yes.
Do you remember?
Yes,
and
I remember.
The child.
Absolutely, the child was doing something sexual to herself.
Yeah, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't reply. I was masturbating." Yeah, and this girl's 11 years old.
Yeah.
11 years old.
They're sexualized at a young age, either if they're not in some type of home where they're exposed to it, they're going to get it in school.
Yeah.
They're going to get sexualized at a young age, either if you're a parent and there for whatever reason your child is exposed to it. Maybe it's not a household where there's a mom and a dad, or a mom and a dad that are single parents that are in charge of things. Maybe there's a chaotic lifestyle, boyfriend sleeping over, girlfriend sleeping over, whatever the case is, and they get exposed to sexuality at a young age. That's one thing. Okay, that's bad enough. Mm-hmm. But then if you have a perfectly normal situation, they're still going to get it if you let them just go to sex ed. If you're not, if you're not able to see this.
And her children go to private school.
Yes.
So I don't know what their curriculum is, but everybody seems to be lesbian, which I know girls do that in middle school. They're unsure, do I like boys? Do I like girls? Do I like both? I don't know. It's a hard age. I feel like middle school is a very difficult age, mostly because their hormones are just, they don't know what's going on. They're angry, they're crying, they're happy, This is a vulnerable time, though, for the school. This is like the perfect time for the school to teach the children this nonsense.
Right. It says another video, this is back to amaze.org, called Range of Gender Identities. 2 children tell their parents at the dinner table that back in the day, most people understood the world in terms of just boys and girls, but now we know gender is more complex than that. After the father admits he's still confused, the mother joins in, adding, "That's okay. You don't have to fully understand someone to respect them." So that's the thing is, you have to respect whatever they say, and no matter what, no one's wrong. So they can't tell you so they tell you this is part of the amaze stuff. So the kid reads this, and then they come home to you or I and they say, boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and it's perfectly normal. And we say, no, it's not. And then they say, well, you don't respect me then. How do you know that? Well, that's what they taught us in school. So they're dividing children against their parents too.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Another one's called Abortion with Pills. What is that? Promotes self-managed chemical abortions, stating that, quote, they can give someone an important feeling of safety and being in control of their own choices. No mention is ever made of the developing fetus in the womb of the pregnant one. It goes on and on and on.
Do they talk about how, let's say a 12-year-old has an abortion, maybe she will never go on to have children one day when she's married?
Oh, that's not true. Abortion's just like getting a mole removed, right?
I know they act like it.
Well, that's what it says here. This is from the Daily Caller. This is transition. It actually feels a lot like childbirth, reporter whispers as NPR airs abortion procedure on air. This is from the Daily Caller. NPR aired audio of an abortion Thursday, including sounds of a woman crying, a loud medical instrument running, and the voices of staff calming the patient down during the procedure. The abortion audio was part of a segment on abortion in Michigan, where the battle is raging over whether the state will enforce its pre-Roe v. Wade ban on abortion. The woman whose abortion was recorded was 11 weeks pregnant. Some listeners will find the details of the story disturbing, the reporter warns earlier in the segment, and then they play it. I'm not going to play it. Most patients are still partially awake during the procedures. They get IV sedation for pain and anxiety. Lights are dimmed. There's soothing music. It actually feels a lot like childbirth, except it's the opposite of childbirth. Yeah. After interviewing a few patients in the room, the reporter joins an unnamed woman for an abortion, narrating the entire procedure. Why did they do this?
I don't know.
A staff member holds a woman's hand, and another staff member warns her that a machine is going to turn on and make a loud noise. After the medical instrument, presuming a vacuum, begins running, the patient cries as a staff member tells her repeatedly to keep breathing. Patient has painful cramps and says she can't breathe. The abortion ends within a few minutes. Then the doctor says, "You did it. You did great," in high-pitched voices. Oh, staff members say that.
Well, if it's over in a few minutes, it's much easier to have an abortion than childbirth, because we know that doesn't take a few minutes.
But again, but this thing back to the school thing is saying, chemical abortion, it's okay. It gives you an important feeling of safety. And so kids aren't warned about the consequences of their actions, being sexually promiscuous or anything. All they do is constantly encouraged to do this. Mm-hmm. And you say, oh, well, you're just being old fuddy-duddy. Whatever. It's up to the parents to be a fuddy-duddy or not be a fuddy-duddy. It's not up to the damn school to say, look, we're going to institute this promiscuous behavior promoting agenda. And that's going on in Hillsborough County, like you said, in a red state, pretty much for the most part. And here we are.
Yeah. And I'm shocked that it's happening in our state. I can't wait to hear what Governor DeSantis has to say about it.
Well, he may not even know about it, I didn't know about it until you showed me. I didn't know it. Yeah,
I was watching a mother at the school board meeting talk about this. And like I said, I was watching Will Witt. He's with the Florida Standard. Mm-hmm. And so everything he reports on is, Florida. And because he's in Tampa, he reports on a lot of Hillsborough County information. But yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah. I'm surprised that it is going on. Unfortunately, most parents don't know about it.
I didn't know about it.
You didn't know about it, and we're very much in tune to this. I'd probably say we're probably in the top 1% of people who are in tune to this type of thing. So think about all the people who are not.
Yeah, think about the parents that don't interact with their children, like you said before. The single mom that's working 2 jobs and doesn't have time to really sit down.
Yeah.
And speak to her children about what's going on in the day.
Yeah. This is an interesting article. This is from a lady named Emily Oster, who's with the Atlantic. And she goes, let's declare a public amnesty. And she goes, this is about, COVID happened. Now it's just time to move on. All the things that happened with COVID, all the lockdowns, all the people losing their jobs, all the people being ostracized for not getting a vaccine, we just need to move on. She goes, in April 2020, with nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. We all wore cloth masks that I had made myself. We had a family hand signal, which the person in the front would use if someone was approaching on the trail, and we needed to put our masks on. Once, when another child got too close to my then 4-year-old son on a bridge, he yelled out at her, "Social distancing." These precautions were totally misguided. In April 2020, no one got coronavirus from passing someone else hiking. Outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare. Our cloth masks made out of old bandanas wouldn't have done much of anything. But the thing is, we didn't know. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to the class I'm co-teaching at Brown University on COVID. We spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we made under the circumstances of tremendous uncertainty. And she goes on to say that basically we didn't know that all these things that we were trying to force people to do were not the right thing, as if this was the only thing that was known.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, to be fair, in the beginning, a lot of people did not know, this COVID was new. It was very scary. I mean, I was watching the Johns Hopkins site every single day, watching the death rate and the death toll increase hourly. And it was very scary. I know you were never scared, but I was concerned, and I just started a new medication that compromised my immune system. So I was, a little worried about myself, and getting COVID. And I remember I asked you to wear a mask too. And we all wear masks. And when you came home working COVID clinics, I would have you take your clothes off outside. Mm-hmm. But this did not happen. I mean, this was like a couple months. Mm-hmm. And then, as we're learning, we're reading on our own, we're like, this doesn't sound right. How could this mask protect me?
So what she's doing, this Emily Oster, is conflating 2 things. She's conflating what you just said, which I would say 95% of America either experience themselves or understands. And she's conflating that with then what took off later on. So she's saying now, we didn't know that the cloth mask didn't work. We didn't know that you couldn't catch coronavirus outside. Okay, 95% of maybe 90% people thought that, right, initially. But then what people like Emily did is they went on to say, well, let's take that down to the next level. So the vaccines work, and the vaccines will stop the transmission of the virus, and you must get the vaccine. Right.
Her last sentence, it is interesting because the way her article is written, but then the last paragraph is mandate vaccines. I mean, we should mandate vaccines. Mm-hmm. But we know now also. Okay, so yes, we didn't know in the beginning. Wear masks. We're thinking, okay, we're keeping ourselves safe. We're keeping other people safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Then when we learned masks don't help, we got rid of the masks. And then the vaccine, of course, in the beginning, people thought that it was safe. And now we know it's causing heart problems. We know now.
That still isn't official.
Right. But
this is what's official about it.
People dropping like flies everywhere.
This is what's official about it, is that in some adolescents that it can cause myocarditis.
Well, we also know that there's a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds that are just dying.
Yes.
And they're healthy. But anyway, she's recommending the vaccine, even though now we know all these things about the vaccine.
Yeah. So here's
even if you don't want to say it causes heart disease, we know that it does not stop the transmission.
Here's what she has to say about vaccines. Another example is when the vaccines came out, we lacked definitive data on the relative efficacies of J&J shot versus mRNA options for Pfizer and Moderna. The mRNA vaccines have won out. But by that time, many in the public health were either neutral or expressed a J&J preference. This misstep wasn't nefarious, it was a result of uncertainty. However, some people intended to mislead and made widely irresponsible claims. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot of time and resources urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach?
Well,
do
honestly,
you remember that?
I do not.
You know why they're saying that? They're saying that Donald Trump told people to inject themselves with bleach.
Right. He did talk about inhaling
disinfectant.
Yes, inhaling something, maybe bleach. I don't remember, but he was talking about inhaling, and I think they do that in some places, right? It's diluted, obviously, very, very, very little bit.
Right. What they took was something that he said and completely twisted it into something that sounds ludicrous.
Right. Also, injecting yourself with what was the stuff that people use, the fishbowl cleaner or something? Yeah. I can't remember.
Chloroquine.
Yes. And the people injected themselves, and I think the husband died. So really, if you're taking things out of context and you...
So this woman wants an amnesty. She wants to be forgiven for doing what she did.
Well, she still has her
all
job.
She does is keeps misrepresenting and causing misinformation.
And she still has her job.
Yeah.
She never lost her job. I mean, what about the people that lost their job right now? Maybe even lost their home. Maybe they end up getting a divorce throughout this, or maybe they're living in their car now because both husband and wife lost their job.
Yeah. And so she's saying that, like you said about the vaccine, says many people have neglected their health care over the past several years. Notably, routine vaccination rates for children, blah, 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 are way down. Rather than debating the role that messaging about COVID vaccines had this decline, we need to put all of our energy into bringing these rates back up. Pediatricians and public health officials will need to work together on community outreach, and politicians will need to consider school mandates. So damn, she doesn't learn.
I know.
Emily, learn from your damn mistakes before. Yeah. Just keep your mouth shut. Let people make their own damn minds up.
Yeah, mandating.
You know, when your kid was on the trail yelling at the other kids, that was because of you. That was because you are a neurotic person. Drop this shit about the mandates for vaccines, you psychopath.
Do you remember when we were at Lettuce Lake Park?
Same thing happened.
And we were walking through the woods. And, of course, we didn't have our masks. I mean, we're outside in the wilderness.
And it was about April of 2020.
Yes.
Because we were getting our taxes done.
Yes. And here come these kids.
20-year-olds.
In the opposite direction. And you would have thought they had just seen us standing there with a gun.
Right. They had to look up complete, like their faces turned pale.
Yeah. And then they hurry and put their mask on before they walked by us. And I couldn't help but giggle at the thought, but also I felt sad for them.
Yeah.
That they're, this boy was 20 years old. I mean, unless maybe he had it was the whole family, 3 or 4 people, but I doubt all 4 of them had an illness where, if they got COVID, they were all going to die, all 4 of them.
Right.
But so anyway, they all looked very healthy. They looked like healthy people, but I felt sorry for them because the media had made them so scared.
Yeah. And people like Emily Oster. So she's on one hand, she's saying, let's get amnesty from my stupid idea that I had before, that I had to mask up and get COVID outside. But let's not back off my idea that everyone must have the vaccine because I've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Because Rochelle Walensky got vaccinated with the brand new bivalent vaccine and got COVID 1 month later. Yeah. All right, Emily, if you want to get that vaccine, knock yourself out. Mm-hmm. But don't tell us all and don't start preaching again, because in another year you're going to be asking for another amnesty, and pretty soon you run out of chances. So just shut your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, they know that it doesn't stop transmission.
I know.
They've admitted that. They never tested it.
Right, exactly. From the horse's mouth, they said they never tested it.
Right, they never tested it.
All they tested was, they claim that they have all this data that show it prevents hospitalizations. How they know that, I don't know. They've never shown that data.
I will tell you
either.
that there was, how many people on our family vacation? Near 40 people. And I don't know, 13, 15 people ended up getting COVID on our family vacation. And all but
one of them were two.
Two people. And those 2 people had already been, had COVID once. Mm-hmm. And everyone else had their vaccine. So they either had 2 vaccines or they were boosted. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They all got COVID.
But so that's the thing is, and they're mandating, and she's in favor of mandating it. And it's not just her. It's people, it's what she represents is this group of people who just want to enforce their beliefs on you.
Yeah. It all comes down to if we had a better leader.
Control.
If we had had a better leader that knew what he was talking about, Dr. Fauci. But
yes, Dr. Fauci misled a lot of people.
Yeah, wear masks. Don't wear masks.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, yes, you should wear masks, but don't wear medical masks because the medical people need those masks. Just wear a cloth mask.
And wear 2 masks is better than one.
Yeah, or wear a bandana or put a sock over your mouth.
And this is the other thing with Dr. Fauci that he got wrong is he said during COVID, and they shut down entire football seasons because of COVID. The 2020 season was, for most people, was not a full football season. They said there was going to be nothing but super spreader events. People were going to die. We can't have sports. Okay, so that's what they said. And then 2020 came and went and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So what happened in 2021? We had full sports, packed stadiums. Yet people were still saying, people like Fauci were saying, this is a super spreader event. This is going to cause death. And it never happened.
Right.
They were full of shit. And this person here, and this is interesting. This is her last paragraph. The standard saying is that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. But dwelling on the mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loop as well. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices in the face of deep uncertainty, and let's work together to build back and move forward.
I understand that is, so I do understand that you learn, as COVID was happening,
she doesn't learn.
We were learning, but we all know it now. If you don't know now, then you're just stupid.
Well, she doesn't learn.
Yeah.
But she just writes in the second paragraph that she learns right before the paragraph where she's saying we have to mandate vaccines.
Yeah. Well, I still have family members. They're going to get their boosters. So
I think everyone should be allowed to. That's what I think.
I'm thinking, why?
Stop with the damn mandates. That's what I've always been about.
You had COVID already, and then you've already been vaccinated. Now you're going to get a booster, and I don't understand it. But whatever, they can get it. I'm not going to call them up and cuss them out.
I don't care about it. I care about people who want to say, because you didn't choose what I chose, then you should be punished. Yeah. Because you didn't choose to get the vaccine, you should be punished, which they're still doing, and which they did in the past. And that's what these people need to seek amnesty for. Mm-hmm. It's not about wearing masks. Wearing masks is not a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's about the COVID damn vaccine mandates where people lost their livelihoods, people were ostracized, people's brains like hers were completely warped. They turned on their family members. They have a whole series of tweets about her about all the horrible things she was saying about basically saying if you're unvaccinated, you deserve whatever you're going to get, So they poisoned the minds of people. Yeah.
I will tell you this is funny. We've been looking at, cruises lately. And so Carnival Cruise, they, you can cruise now without being vaccinated.
Which is new.
Which is very new.
But you can't cruise, I think, to Canada. You still have to show vaccination, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
There are some cruises that do require you to be vaccinated.
But you can leave from a cruise ship in the United States and not be vaccinated.
Okay. But you probably just have to test. And so I know with Carnival,
you don't, right?
No testing, no vaccination is required. Now there is 1 or 2 ports you cannot get off at if you are not vaccinated. That's going to change, I'm sure, real quick when people.
That's what the Carnival lady told you.
She told me that. I read about it also, and then she told me about it, and I said yes, I already read about that. But of course, she goes, they're going to change their mind soon when all the tourists are spending their money in, let's say, Honduras or Belize or wherever, and no one's coming, to spend money at their place in their country or their island. But the cruise person did just tell me that they stopped the testing just last week.
Yeah.
Because she said, so what they were requiring people to do is bring your test. Either you could take a picture of your negative test. Had to be taken 3 days prior to your cruise. So you take a picture of the test. It's like a pregnancy test. take your picture and then you show them.
Yeah. How valid is that?
Like she said, you could be swabbing your dog,
Yeah.
So you could do that, or you can bring your test in like a little baggie.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Even though, you're not supposed to read it after so many minutes.
Right.
So then people were bringing in their little baggies and then they were like, this is stupid.
Right. And that's the thing.
We're not going to do this. So they haven't announced it, but yeah. So with Carnival Cruises, anyone looking to cruise, Carnival, there's no testing required, no vaccination mandate. If you are at liberty to go cruise all you want.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny? Like bring your little baggie of your little test.
Yeah, it is fun. It's stupid. And the reason for it is because the CDC The CDC recommended it.
Yeah.
A CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, where the people are the smartest of the smart go, right? This is the kind of stupid stuff they recommend.
Yeah. Now, some islands too, they that are still requiring vaccination or testing. When you or if you just fly to their country, you have to allow them to test you, and that's $100
Really?
for them to swab you.
I wouldn't go to that damn island.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either. But it's $100.
I remember
to do that.
One of our patients goes back and forth to Dominican because his wife is from the Dominican Republic. Right. And he said this was during the height of COVID. He was traveling, well, when you were allowed to, when it first became allowed to. So COVID was still going on, and people like Emily were still badgering people on the internet about wearing masks and everything else. Anyway, he said the COVID doesn't exist there. They don't ask about COVID. They don't test for COVID. COVID doesn't exist. They don't want to know about it. Right.
But what's interesting is when his wife, who was trying to get here to the United States and live with her husband, so the United States forced her to be vaccinated.
Right.
Okay, so she had to be vaccinated in order to come here and live. But then we have all these border crossers. They don't require it. They're not doing it. They're not vaccinating them or testing them.
No.
But Vanessa had to jump through all these hoops, That's how I don't understand it. I see why people come here illegally, because they just come across the, water or whatever. They're like, here, we're free and you're here and we're going to feed you and put you in a hotel. And if you come legally, we're going to make you do all these testings and immunizations and then pay the lawyers for the next 5 years.
Yeah. And it's not just once, it's a continual process.
Yeah. And I know people might not know that, but it does happen in my sister's family or have been dealing with it for 5 years
thousands and thousands of dollars.
They pay the lawyer every month.
They're here working.
Paying taxes.
Not getting arrested.
Right.
Not shooting anybody, not breaking in anybody's home and bludgeoning with a hammer, which they found out that guy who beat up Paul Pelosi is an illegal alien.
I did see the headline for that. I didn't read the article.
Yeah, he said he was here on a visa and he overstayed his visa, which makes him an illegal alien.
But I did listen to the audio, or I did listen to the call.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the call?
No.
Well, apparently Paul Pelosi says that it was a friend.
Yeah.
So I want him like, what happened?
We'll never know.
He says it was a friend that was there. And
all
then
they
I
have
guess,
to
I don't
do
know.
is release the body cam footage, which they have said already they're not going to do.
Why? Because
it's not in the public interest.
It is, though. Everybody wants to know.
Everybody wants to know, but they say it's not in the public interest.
Everyone is dying to know because a lot of people don't like Nancy Pelosi. I think they just want to. I want to know. I don't like her either, but I want to know what happened.
I want to know what happened. The reason why?
Why?
One of the reasons is because these politicians keep trying to use this as a cudgel against us again.
Yeah,
everything is always a reason to blame conservatives.
Yeah, he was a MAGA supporter.
He was inspired by Donald Trump. God, give it a rest.
Yeah,
give it a rest.
Just like little 3-year-olds, blaming their friend and, for everything that happens, like little toddlers.
Yeah.
These are grown adults. How long are you going to blame Trump supporters or Trump?
I just wanted to read this thing about this. You're talking about the vaccines. This is from Alex Berenson, Unreported Truths, his Substack. It says, the funeral business is booming and not because of COVID. How bad is the rise in mortality? So bad, funeral companies are starting to worry. Today, Service Corporation International, largest for-profit funeral operator in North America, had its quarterly earnings call. SCI had another great quarter, you'll be pleased to hear. So far in 2022, the company has made almost $500 million in profits, and its stock rose more than 10% today after its earnings report. And this shows a graph that basically the stock is skyrocketing. SCI's management seems fairly open with investors. For many years, much of the company's growth came from buying family-run funeral homes as their operators died out. The underlying funeral business is slow growth and very predictable. At least it used to be. As Thomas L. Ryan, Service Corporation's chairman and chief executive, told investors Wednesday morning, if you go back in this industry, in particular with SCI, year to year, you would expect to see the numbers of deaths. Probably one year you may see 1 or 2%, and the next year you're up 1 or 2%, which you could predict was pretty good accuracy year over year over a big footprint like ours, which is probably going to happen. 2020 comes along, COVID, game changer, right? We're having to do, at one point of the time, 20% more funerals, which is unheard of in a year versus, let's say, a year or two before. So Service Corporation expected that once COVID passed, its business would go back to normal. And then it goes back to the Thomas Ryan. He goes, what we would have expected is, why wouldn't we go back towards this, let's say, a 2019 level? Maybe you get 1% or so growth at 2019. I would expect that. So that would be a reasonable level that we think would stabilize, and that's what we kind of anticipated, only that's not what happened. What we're telling you is the third quarter of this year, being 2022, we did 15% more calls than we did in the third quarter of 2019. That's not what everyone had expected, and that was with a very minimal amount of COVID deaths. COVID is gone. This is back to the article. COVID is gone, but people keep dying. Unsurprisingly, Ryan did not mention mRNA vaccines anywhere. Why would he? Doing so would only make headaches for him and Service Corporation that he doesn't need. But earlier in the call, he did point out to more cancer deaths and more broadly a decline in overall health. We believe these excess services are permanent in nature in a combination of aging, demographics, higher risk, less healthy lifestyle developed during the pandemic. He also suggests delayed medical care might be an issue. These explanations are strained at best. Aging demographics are hardly new, and lockdowns that caused a less healthy lifestyle ended in mid-2020 in most red states, by early 2020 or 2021 everywhere else. Opioids and overdoses generally remain a horrendous crisis, but deaths appear to have peaked in 2022 and fallen only slightly since. As for the discussion and delays in medical care, hospitals and doctors' offices have functioned essentially normally for at least 18 months. In any case, the United States is hardly alone in seeing a large and so far unexplained spike in deaths in 2022. Countries from Germany to Australia to Taiwan are also seeing similar trends. They all have something in common, no points for guessing what. In any case, Service Corporation expecting business to stay good for years to come. These trends are hard to reverse quickly, Ryan said. I hope 3 or 4 or 5 years from now we will subside a bit, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. When is that going to be reported?
It's not.
It's got to be at some point.
Well, right now they're still pushing the vaccine mandates. And so we're pushing the vaccine. You hear the commercials every day.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel for people who, I don't know. I hope nothing happens. I don't know. Something's happening.
Well, I hope not, because we have a lot of loved ones who are vaccinated.
That's what I'm saying. Something's happening, though. We can't deny the truth.
Well, right now, this is research. This is how research works.
Yes.
I used to work in research, so I remember, a person is put on a medication, usually for close to 10 years. You're monitored. You're followed closely with blood work. Sometimes there's good, response. Sometimes there's bad response. This is all, this is going to happen for the next 10 years, I would guess, which is what happens sometimes. They bring drugs out on the market. So it's been researched for 10 years and then they bring it out in the market. And then guess what? They stop it after so long because too many, they're causing cancer or it's, causing something, and they pull it from the market. Everybody that got a vaccine participated in this research program, whether they were paid or not. Most of them obviously weren't paid. Well, some got cheeseburgers and fries, from New York.
Yeah, they also got lottery tickets some places.
Yeah. But yes, you were part of research.
I covered this a few weeks ago. Mark Stein had a graphic about the most vaccinated countries in Europe were also the most deaths in Europe. And then I remember reading this. This is something I read earlier. This is about Haiti. So I'm just going to read you some headlines. I just Googled low vaccination rate in Haiti. And so MSM, Haiti's low vaccination rate sparks worries. This is from the CDC. Oh, that's from Haiti. And this is CNBC. These countries have the lowest vaccination rates in the world. Dominican Republic and Haiti. Okay. And then it comes down to another headline. Experts puzzled why Haiti has one of the lowest COVID death rates. So that's something that they haven't reported. So COVID death rates in Haiti are some of the lowest. Here's that from NPR. COVID-19 death rates are impressively low in Haiti. These are smart people, the CDC. This is their life.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Well, supposedly.
We've seen some articles in the last 2 years the CDC's put out. Let's say, do you remember the monkeypox article?
Yeah.
And how silly, things to do to.
Oh yes.
I mean, I just couldn't believe. I'm like the
masturbate in groups away from each other.
Yeah, you go.
That
to this
was right.
corner,
You were from the CDC,
and you go to this corner. It was unbelievable. I cannot believe that educated people put that article out.
Yeah. So Haiti is one of the lowest death rates, and yet these people are constantly worrying why Haiti's got low vaccination rates, and we need to do more to inoculate people in Haiti. The same thing happened in Nigeria. Is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria has 200 million people. They've had I don't know how many. I don't want to misquote, but a minuscule amount of deaths. So they have 2/3 the population of the United States. They have almost, I forgot. I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to look at it, but it's a very minuscule amount of deaths. This is nowhere near the percentage of deaths we've had in the United States. From the very beginning, I've always said there's something about parasitic either treatments or parasitic immunity through genetics that has got something to do with COVID. And that was the whole reasoning behind why Plaquenil works against COVID, was because it acidified the vesicle, that when the virus gets in the cell, Plaquenil acidifies the vesicle and makes that virus less likely to do its damage. That's the same way you kill parasites. That's the way parasites enter the cell. They get engulfed in the cell to become a parasite in the cell. That's why Plaquenil was so good. But that was not allowed. People like Emily Oster would be for you being banned from social media, losing your job, maybe even put in jail for misinformation for saying stuff like that. Then she would go on to misrepresent what you said years later by saying, you're telling people to use horse dewormer. You're telling people to use medicine that can make them blind and have heart attacks. You're a piece of crap. So this is what we have to learn. We don't have to learn from what she said, because what she says is bullshit about getting amnesty for what she said. What we really have to learn is what happened when people tried to offer an alternative. See how they were shut down? We can't repeat that. Right.
Well, we know with hydroxychloroquine, they put a block on it.
Yeah.
You couldn't prescribe it. And this was literally like 3 months after they started, wanting to prescribe it. We called the pharmacy, and our pharmacist was, no, you can't do that.
And you were at risk of losing your license if you prescribed it in some places.
Right. You cannot prescribe that. The Florida Board of Pharmacy has put a block on it.
I'll tell you what, it's
a $20 a month medication. Now, if a patient wants to take it, why can't he take it?
Yeah. We live in a country where you're allowed to have your breast removed if you're a teenager, if you feel like you're the opposite sex. But if you're an adult, you cannot take Plaquenil for a disease which you think may help you and your doctor.
Right.
That's the country we live in.
Yeah, and it's still not a medication that's, they're still not using it. Now, ivermectin has been added, but not Plaquenil.
Yeah.
And we also know you can look up the research that they used for Plaquenil.
They used too much. Why wouldn't they just one tablet twice a day? I've seen a lot
everyone on these drug studies was going blind.
I've seen a lot of studies on ivermectin and Plaquenil come across my email that shows that it doesn't work. Or if it does, it doesn't show a benefit, let's say. Of those research studies, I haven't seen any that said that they caused any of the stuff that they said they would cause.
Yeah.
That's why they said it. That's why they said you shouldn't be allowed to use it because it's dangerous. They didn't say you shouldn't be allowed to use it because it won't work. Mm-hmm. They had to put that extra fear in there. They had to use the misinformation again to make you not want to use it and to say this is the reason you can't use it.
Right. You're going to have abnormal heart rhythms, and you're going to go blind.
And then they didn't say that if you got the mRNA shot that you would have abnormal periods. They didn't say that. Mm-hmm. But if you posted that because people were experiencing it, then you get banned from Twitter. You'd get banned from Facebook. You're a misinformation person until now it's official. Now it's official that it will mess with your periods. Mm-hmm. They will say that. So how much of this other stuff's going to come out later on that's now in the conspiracy theory realm that is now official? And then how many people like Emily Oster, Dr. Fauci will be pulling we need to have an amnesty. We didn't know. We were just doing our best. We had no ill intentions. Yeah. We're going on a concert soon. This Trans-Siberian Orchestra is coming up.
Yep.
So if you're out there and you haven't seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra, highly recommend it. There's probably be one near you.
Yep, most likely. They're, I don't know how many states they are traveling to, but I'm excited. The girls are all excited.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra is a shortcut version. What it is it's a rock and roll performance of Christmas music in the first half of the of the first half of the show, which is roughly an hour. And then in the second half of the show, it's a performance of other music, which is also by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is mostly based on symphony type music, like Beethoven and things like that. Classical music, but with a heavy metal backing band.
Right.
And then the first half this year is going to be the Ghosts of Christmas Eve, and then the second half is going to be this Best of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which has some of the Best of Trans-Siberian Orchestra songs are Christmas songs, but some of them are not. I think they've had 6 different albums. 3 of them were Christmas albums, and I think 3 of them were not.
I just emailed you something about.
I saw that.
Okay.
They're going to put it on YouTube too. So if you want to learn more about it, go to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra website on YouTube. They're going to do like a whole concert, or they're going to do the narrated forms of their albums. They're going to put those up. And
I can't remember how much we paid for our tickets, but you can get tickets on Groupon. I would assume that they are, pretty high up, but they're $49. I just seen that this morning.
Okay.
So $49,
But the way this show works is actually the farther away, it might be the better, because you can see the whole pyrotechnics of it.
Yeah. I mean, where we sit, we normally can feel the heat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even if, and we're not on the floor. No. We're up in the stands. And when they do the pyro, you can feel the heat hitting your face.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing performance. The voices from these people are amazing.
It sounds as good as the CD.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you go to a concert,
it does not sound as good as the CD.
Yeah. I can think of, 5 concerts probably, where I'm like, these people sound, amazing. But TSO, it's always, every year that we've gone, they all sound amazing. Everyone.
Yeah, they have 2 different bands. They both perform at the same time. So you can have a Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert in Tampa and one in New York at the same time, because they have 2 different bands. So that's how they're able to cover the whole country in such a short amount of time, because they do the whole country. I think it's like 50 shows in like 50 days. And you could not do that with the amount of stuff they have with one band. So they have 2 different lineups. They play the same music, but they're 2 different actual lineups.
Right.
But it's really a good show to see. This will be our 5th year, I think, or 6th maybe.
I think it's our 5th. The first year was 2017, I believe. And then they didn't have it one year because of COVID. But I think this will be our 5th year. And we take Olivia. She's, usually
first time
falls
she
asleep,
went, she was a baby. The last time she went, she enjoyed it okay. And then after the second song, she goes, is it over yet? Is it done yet?
Yeah. So. It's a 7:30 show that we're seeing this year, so I would think that she's going to fall asleep. Now, the first part, they're telling a Christmas story. Yeah. So literally, you feel like you want a blanket and a pillow. It's very soothing. Yeah. And it is really relaxing.
My dad went, after he got out of the hospital, this was a few years ago, the year before he died. And he had just been in the hospital with pneumonia. And the day before he got out of the hospital, he was able to make it to the concert. And he said that was the best. He really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed it. So it's good for the young and the old.
Yes.
Actually, my dad preferred the second half of the show, which was the more heavy metal show.
Yeah. Well, I do too. It's my favorite, the second part. I like the first part, but I'm almost, sometimes during the first part, I'm like so relaxed too. I'm like yawning a little bit, but not from boredom. Yeah. But
well, it's like you said, you need like a blanket and cookies,
some hot cocoa.
Did you know that was my dad's only concert he's ever been to in his life?
No.
Yep.
I did not know that.
That was the first and only concert he ever went to. Oh, that's too bad, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to get them tickets.
Little election rundown before we go. So this is from Real Clear Politics. Out in Arizona, it looks like Blake Masters and Scott Kelly are tied. Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs, Lake up by 3. Actually, she's going to be.
That's it.
Yeah, she's going to be higher than that.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker and Warnock, they say, is a tie. This is
the last I read
polls.
that Herschel Walker was not ahead.
Right. Well, these are different. Emerson, Marist. Trafalgar is a good one. Trafalgar is usually a little bit more. A lot of these polls try to skew results. They call them suppression polls. So, for instance, we were talking the other day about the John Fetterman and Dr. Oz poll. So the Fetterman-Oz poll showed that Oz was down, right?
Right.
And that just came out. And you said, well, I'm surprised at that. Well, I was listening to Hugh Hewitt, and he said that the poll was done 2 days. 2 of the dates that the poll was done were before the were before the Fetterman debate. And then the last day of the poll was done the day after the Fetterman debate. So most people didn't watch the debate, so they don't really know. They hear from the water cooler and things about things like that. So they took this poll 2 days before the Fetterman debate with Oz, and then the day after the Fetterman debate with Oz, and then they waited. They sat on it. It was favorable to Fetterman. They waited a week or more, and then they released it. And then so the impression that people get is, well, Fetterman's doing okay. I hear everybody said that he sucked in the debate, but he's doing okay. Because they used a poll, I think it was the New York Times, that was chronologically out of order. So it wasn't from the most, it was late. And they used that to try to suppress people. So a lot of these polls are suppression polls. Well, they do them on purpose.
And I did see
they oversample Democrats, for instance.
And I did see a video. Did you see the video of Chuck Schumer talking to Biden?
Telling him we're going to lose.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, in Georgia.
But the one in Pennsylvania, it was good.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how could they be good? I mean, the man clearly has some brain injury.
Hugh Hewitt also covered that, and he said the audio was hard to decipher what he said. But he did say that Herschel Walker is winning, but it doesn't look like we were hurt too bad in Pennsylvania. And so that's what was said. And the big punchline of that was, according to Hugh Hewitt, was Walker's going to win. Now, then he went to ABC News, I believe it was, who was covering it. He goes, now listen to this guy talk. So they go to ABC News. And guess what ABC News reported?
What did they report?
Chuck Schumer's confident in Pennsylvania. That's it. Left out the whole part about Warnock.
Yeah.
So this is the thing with the media. They are Democrats, mostly, 95%.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I believe it was Fox News already called Kari Lake a loser.
They called her a loser?
They said she lost.
Oh, yeah. They said they ran that, and they said, oh, that was a mistake.
That's not a mistake.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Who makes up a thing anyway 2 weeks in advance? They said that was a graphic that it wasn't
supposed to come out.
It was kind of like the Harry Truman and Dewey wins, the famous thing where Harry Truman's holding up the newspaper, it says Dewey wins.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to say it was. It was a mistake. It was bullcrap. What else? Oz and Fetterman. So Trafalgar's more, I guess you'd call it, more oriented towards conservatives as far as sampling correctly. They have Oz up too. And then let's see, where else do we got down here? Rubio and Demmings. This is here in Florida. Rubio's up 8 according to the Spectrum News Siena poll. DeSantis and Crist. DeSantis up 12.
He is going to, I have no doubt that he's going to win.
They sent They sent Joe Biden down here to campaign for Rubio and to campaign for Demmings and Crist.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and he mostly, to me, when I watched a little bit of it, he was mostly focusing on women's right to kill their babies.
Right. Same thing Chris did. Mm-hmm. But why would you send the president down there when you know they're going to lose? Mm-hmm. The reason I told you is the reason I think they did was they were going to get questions if Biden wasn't on the campaign trail, because they already did. They sent Obama somewhere, and so they asked Karine Jean-Pierre the next day, why is Obama out there but not the president? So then the president gets sent out. And I think they did that so they could say, no, the president's on the campaign trail, because the president's not popular. The approval polls for Biden have been and are always in the toilet. So what they did was they wanted to send him out there so that they could say, no, he's actually out there. He's out there. And see, look, here's confirmation. There he is down in Florida. They know he can't do any damage down there because the damage is done.
Right.
And so they can say he's out there campaigning. They can get that win saying that he's not insignificant. He's not the leader of the party. Nominal leader of the Democrat Party is not insignificant. He's down there campaigning. And they know at the same time he can't do anything wrong, because the chances are is that if Joe Biden went to campaign for you and you're in a tight race, things aren't going to go good. Yeah. The same thing can be said for Liz Cheney. I just wrote something new on the podcast website about Liz, and they sent her out to the West to go campaign for Kari Lake's opponent. She's campaigning as a Democrat, campaigning for Democrats as a Republican. Kari Lake's record campaign contributions,
Yes,
and she went up in the polls.
I did read that. She said she
Now
put a
she's
message out to Liz Cheney thanking her.
And now she went to Michigan, so that person's going to lose to campaign for the Democrat. I say before it's all over, they need to send her to Pennsylvania to campaign for Fetterman, and they need to send her to Atlanta to campaign for Warnock, and they need to send her anywhere where there's a close race so that Liz Cheney can work her magic and kill the Democrats' chances. That's it for us today. If you're interested, join the Dr. Tommy Show. Go to drtommy.com/podcast. If you want to come in for a consult, go to drtommy.com or call us at Echelon Health Concierge Medicine. We'll be glad to see you. So thank you for joining us. And like I said, if you're on Rumble, thanks for watching, and thanks for sharing, and thanks for subscribing, and continue to subscribe if you haven't. And so until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.